Hi everyone, welcome to a special episode of Conversations. This is Conversations Live. Because of the pandemic, we haven't been able to do a lot of these sessions, in audience with people. And obviously that should not stop us. So we've been doing a lot of recorded conversations in quarantine. But this time we thought, we should try doing conversations live on YouTube. Now that a lot of you join us regularly. And today, we have a very special guest. I'm very, very happy to actually invite a batchmate of mine, Urvi. We graduated together out of IIM-I 10 years back now. Hi, Urvi, how are you doing?
Hi, Ankit. Lovely to catch up with you after so long.
Yeah, so guys, even I'm catching up with Urvi today for the first time after a long time. So whatever she tells us today is news for me as well. So Urvi graduated from IIM-I in 2011. She's worked with ITC, she's worked with Mondelez. Currently, she heads the marketing and brand communications for Kohler. So she's the custodian of the Kohler brand in India. For a lot of you, you might have seen, really, really good looking ads, both on TV and on your Instagram, of the various kinds of fittings and devices that Kohler creates to make our homes better for us. So, a lot of the credit for that should go to the product team at Kohler, which once Urvi used to also be a part of, and obviously the marketing team that she currently heads. And we are really, really keen on, asking Urvi about her journey, her marketing career, and how she's evolved as a professional. Also, what are the trends that she sees today? And in the world of e-commerce marketing, what are the things that are going on and how the world has changed, post-pandemic. So Urvi, let's dive right in. So my first question actually is, with respect to your background and your career, you are an engineer from, I think, DJ Sanghvi College of Engineering in Mumbai.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah.
you obviously at some point of time decided to maybe do an MBA. So we just want to know, how did you end up becoming a marketer? Was it always planned? At what point in the journey did you decide that, okay, this is the career for me? So why don't we know about that first?
Sure. I think for every engineering student, there comes a point in their second or probably third year when they must finally decide what is it that they want to do after their college days are over, right? And there are typically two paths that students in my college would take, seniors of ours as well. One would be to continue a career in tech, whether in India or move to the US, do a master's. And that was a really popular option, it still is, doing an MS from a foreign university or working for a few years in the Indian tech ecosystem and then continuing with the master's abroad. And the other option really is to try and do something outside the field of engineering. And typically by the time you're in the third year, you have a good sense of what you want to spend the rest of your life doing. And for me, just going through the time in college, the friends that I was interacting with, participating in college events and festivals, uh, I knew that I definitely did not want to limit myself or, continue along the standard tech path of having an IT job, which I think I got placed at Accenture at that time, or moving to the US and continuing on the field of electronics engineering. So I thought like, okay, I definitely want to explore different careers. And the best way to do that is to have an MBA education under your belt. It opens up opportunities like no other degree really can. So in my third year is when I started thinking about like I should take CAT and I should try and crack that. And there was a group of us in college used to go and write these time CATs every weekend, and I saw that I'm getting like good scores. So this is something that I'm gravitating towards. As luck would have it, I got admission into IIM Indore in 2011. 2009. But at that time, I had no idea because I was a fresher. I had no work experience, not even an internship. So I had absolutely no idea of what is finance, what is marketing, what is HR, no clue. But that falls into place pretty quickly at an IIM. So first 3 months in, you're facing placements, and I got placed at an FMCG company, it was Colgate Palmolive. And throughout the first year, I basically realized that I have very limited aptitude for finance, and I have a good amount of interest in the marketing courses. So by the time first year ended, I had my internship, and then I started taking electives in the second year. And, I actually continued to take a few finance electives just to see if there was something there. And it became really, really clear that I'm just enjoying those marketing courses so much and getting better grades without, without really struggling. And I thought, if this is how it is in college, it's likely to be the same outside as well. So might as well play to your strengths and hope, try to land a career in sales and marketing. And that's how I ended up at ITC as a management trainee. ITC was one of the top companies that used to come to our college for placement. So I thought that here's a great opportunity to launch my career in sales and marketing.
No, you're right. ITC was quite a sought after. In fact, it's still a very sought after company. We just did a survey recently amongst B school students and alumni, and there are a lot of people who choose ITC as a dream company. And it's quite interesting that an Indian company gets such a high billing, despite the global behemoths coming there. Great. So, I mean, so you got into ITC. Can you tell us about your initial years as a marketer at ITC? And I think you also moved to Mondelez. So, how was it entering the world of marketing, and how did you go about that?
So I should point out here that my initial years, 4 to 5, had nothing to do with marketing. I was in sales for the first 4 years of my career. So whenever I talk about my career, I always think of it in terms of sales and marketing. Because I think in order to be a really good marketer, you need to have that experience under your belt. And that's what my initial years at ITC were all about. So I was posted in this
Sorry,
area
I just want to interrupt you. I'm so glad you said that, Urvi. It's one of the things that we keep telling people when we do our own programs as well, that, doing sales well is very, very important to become a good marketer. And, here's one more person who has a decade-long experience who's telling you the same thing. So guys, just keep, a note of this again.
Absolutely, absolutely. So ITC, the first year at ITC was all about living the life of a salesman. So I used to go behind the salesman on the bike from store to store and convince those storekeepers to place my products at the front of the shelf, right? And try and get more orders for the products that were out of stock. So the typical day would be that you get up and you do a beat with a salesman, and then you go back and you discuss with the distributor, what have you observed? What is his point of view on your observations? And hopefully at the end of it, convince him to stock a little more and service his stores a little better. So that's really the first, I think, at least 9 months. And ITC is interesting in that sense that their entire management training experience, at least back then, was a sales experience. You do not have a finance stint or a factory stint or a marketing stint. You have nothing. You just go to the store day after day, write your notes, send reports, and you learn. So that really grounded me very well in, I would say, the best practices of sales, because I think ITC is definitely either number 1 or number 2 when it comes to sales systems in this country. So I found it hard because I had obviously nobody really has that kind of experience, like going into business school as a fresher or even. So I found it tough, but it was incredibly exciting as well, because I was living alone in like city after city. Today I'm in Kolhapur, tomorrow I'm in Belgaum, third day I'm in Pune, traveling by state transport buses, didn't have cab, nothing. So it was like an incredible adventure, to be honest. Though I didn't know it at that time, but I had the most amount of fun with the other management trainees as well. You build this great bond, which which stays till date. We're in touch with each other till now. So it was like like I would say it was an extension of college life without the full responsibility, but with an incredible amount of learning. So that was great. And from that excellent field stint, I then got my first role as a assistant manager in the head office in Calcutta. So it was a complete transformation. I was like boxed into this little office, little cubicle, and just kind of working on Excel and computer. And I think somewhere I had this thing in my mind, because you always hear about like ASM banna hai, and you want to be in the field, you want to be leading people and running after targets. So I think I missed that experience. Uh, it wasn't like I had really kind of planned to leave, but then this opportunity with Mondelez came along. Like, would you like to be an ASM of Delhi City? And becoming a metro ASM is a huge it's a huge thing. Like, you in ITC, you would do an head office stint, and then you would do 2-3 years in a rural stint, and then you would be considered, obviously much larger organization, then you would be considered for a metro stint. So I thought, okay, aaj mil raha hai. Like, I'm getting to become a Delhi ASM today. Let me go for it. And Mondelez is also like a terrific place to work. It's one of the best, most favorite brands of our childhood really come from that company. So I wanted to work for chocolate and Oreo. So there I was, heading a team and having responsibility of regional sales for Delhi and Rajasthan for Mondelez. So I did that for 2 years. And then I moved as a national key account manager in Mondelez in Bombay itself. But by that time, it had begun to feel like more of the same, because what I was doing as an ASM was also key account management to some extent. Of course, this profile was at a national level and more senior. But I was in Bombay and my husband was in Delhi. So I felt like I wanted to move back. And then I got this opportunity with Kohler to really work in channel marketing and product marketing. So which was a huge shift, both from an industry and a profile point of view. But as you figured out by now, I don't particularly mind taking risks. So I thought, why not? Let's do this. So here I am 5 years later. I've moved up the ladder at Kohler, and now I'm in my current role as head of brand.
Did you at any point of time feel that you're moving from ITC, Mondelez, managing brands like Oreo, Cadbury, etc., which are obviously known brands, people seem to know about
Sure.
it. Now, when it comes to Kohler, it's obviously never going to have the same kind of recollection as an ITC cigarette or even Ashirwad Atta, maybe, I guess, because that's something that people use in daily life. It's actually fast moving consumer goods, whereas Kohler is obviously going to be a much higher value product which you use at certain points in your life, right? So and the thing is, why I'm asking you this question is because I've had a few friends of mine, who always been a little skeptical about moving towards if they're working in a Unilever or if they're working in an ITC, from there on moving towards a brand that is probably going to be slightly niche. There's some people consider it also as a risk. So did you at that point of time feel that am I moving in the right direction from a career perspective, marketing professional's career perspective?
Sure. So I actually got to change my profile completely by moving to this industry, because I was in a sales and an account management role. And here I got the opportunity to create new products from scratch. So while the industry, it didn't seem like a risk, to be very honest, because Kohler grew very fast in the last 5 years and did so well. And FMCG companies somewhere they're so stable, they're so mature, the brands are so well known, that the opportunity for growth is also a little bit limited.
Right.
And it's also competitive, right? So you have the best talent from all over the country, and there are very few opportunities to rise, relatively speaking. So that way I thought, okay, here, in this company, maybe I will not get the responsibilities that I'm getting here this quickly. And you could say I was in a little bit of a hurry to, to learn new things and to take my career forward. In terms of industry, you're right, it's totally different. So FMCG plays completely on awareness and top of mind. You don't really think that much before picking up any brand, like whether you pick up a Snickers or a Oreo or a Britannia. It's really an impulse purchase, at least in the foods category, which I mostly handle. But here it's a completely different ball game. So you are building your dream home, possibly for the first and last time in your life. How many of us get an opportunity to make a home twice? Very few people. So completely differently. You have complete awareness of all the brands, no doubt, but you will spend so much time deciding which are the fittings that should go into your dream home. It's a purchase so close to your heart, and you do so much research. You visit stores, you check things out online, you talk to friends and family, you have an opinion from a influencer like an architect or a contractor. So it's such a high consideration purchase. And I've really enjoyed working on the other side of the marketing funnel, moving from the awareness focus to the consideration and preference focus.
Right.
So it's been a different experience, and I think the kind of experience that I have is different from the value that FMCG marketers bring. But we can't just have large FMCG companies. We need to have large companies in every field, right?
Right.
Like the opportunity is immense. So I thought this is a way for me to from a future point of view make opportunities for myself which did not exist in FMCG for me.
Got it. So, why don't you tell us about some of your most memorable campaigns, products that you worked on? Because obviously, this was an opportunity that came to you, and of course, it need not be restricted just to your time at Kohler. You could obviously also speak about any other activations you might have done earlier. So, because this is a question whenever we ask any of our guests, they just naturally light up because they remember the best, or I
Best
guess,
highlights.
yeah, I mean, something that they learned from the most. In fact, in that moment, sometimes it is probably very hard and tough. Also, when you're actually executing it, but when you look back, you realize, oh, that was one of the best things that I ever did. So, what are some of those experiences for you?
Sure. So I think because I've spent 5 years at Cola now, most of my experiences are really the ones that I remember are related to that. Though I had some excellent experiences in Cadbury. But to start with, I think at one time in Delhi, in modern trade, the chocolate market share had risen to 75%. That was the most memorable kind of moment of my career at Mondelez, because the sales director had come down and asked me, "What are you doing? Like, what are you doing that's getting you to 75%?" And we had basically knocked out all the other brands out of the stores, and it was just Cadbury everywhere, due to a very specific POSM led execution that my team and I had done. So that was definitely the highlight for me there. But in Kohler, I've had so many such experiences. But the one that stands out is really creating the experience center at Delhi. So if any of you watching and are planning to make a new home, do pay us a visit at the experience center at Lajpat Nagar. Now we have two. We have one in Bombay as well, in Lower Parel. So that was like a unique project. There is no such experience center in India for any kind of brand in our industry, whether it's durables or even home improvement industry that I work in. So we wanted to create an experience for customers where they come and they can really experience what Kohler brings. What is the value that Kohler can add to your daily routine, to your daily life? Because everyone thinks of bathroom as like this boring, just small space, tiny space in the house, without realizing that bathroom is the one space where we spend so much time every day, and it's the really only the what is it? It's the only private time that you get, right? For so many of us, it's the only time away from our kids and our husbands and bosses and all of that. And you really want to make your bathroom like a special place to recharge. So we created this space, 10,000 square feet, where we brought the products to life. And I was responsible for actually picking the products and ensuring that they are displayed and the story is told in the best way possible. So that project went on for a year. It involved a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and it culminated into a fantastic launch with our entire global leadership and the top names in the architect and designer community attending in India. And it was one project that I think at the end of it, I was like glad that it's over. But now that I look back, I realize it was a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I don't know if I'll get to work on something like that again. So creating that really experiential marketing for our customers was a great learning experience and highlight for me. And other than that, I've had the opportunity to work on a lot of new products. One of the most special products that we launched last year in the middle of COVID was this wonderful faucet called Weave. So we were struggling because the faucet was due to launch, and the normal offline activations that we would have done were simply not possible. So what we did was we had dates for Twinkle Khanna, who's our brand ambassador, and we decided to use her to do a unique online launch of this product. So we invited all our dealers. They interacted, we invited architects, they interacted with Twinkle one-on-one. We sent the product to her house. So she unveiled it, she spoke about it. And it became like a really special virtual launch, which even our global team kind of took note of and decided to implement. So it was memorable because in the face of a lot of constraints, we were able to pull something special for our community of trade and architects.
Wow, that was quite I mean, I would love to go through the Kohler Experience Center, even if I'm
So
not.
you should check it out. It's in Lower Parel. It's in Bombay now, the second
Oh,
one.
okay, nice.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's in the
so
middle of the hub at Lower Parel.
got it. Yeah, I think we've heard that a lot of real estate, is moving now in India. Residential real estate, people are buying houses suddenly. So I think that augurs well for a lot of brands like Kohler.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Quite fascinating, and at this point of time, I just want to tell everybody who's tuned in that, guys, you will probably get to learn a lot more about similar kind of cases that Urvi just spoke about. So we are doing a program on e-commerce marketing that starts next Saturday, so you might want to just check that out. There are some links that the team has put up in the chat, and also in the description. So Urvi, moving ahead, I wanted to now look at the digital piece. So because you spoke about the Twinkle Khanna experience, and the fact that during the pandemic, obviously a lot of things have to be done digitally, and your
Yes.
product is a touch and feel product. People would want to see before buying something like that, because that's something they're going to experience every day in their life for at least
Yeah.
probably decades, if not at least a decade,
15 to
right?
20 years is the
Yeah,
average. Yeah.
15 to 20 years, right? So how do you now use the digital medium to market and tell people the same thing? Because although you have experience centers in Delhi, you have experience centers in other metros, people are not going, still not that uh, freely going out and
They're not
experiencing
confident.
things. So, but people are still buying houses. People might still want to
Right.
make a choice. So, what is it that you as a marketing professional is now focused on, and how do you get people to experience things digitally?
Right. So I'll have to answer your question in three parts. So the ultimate aim for Kohler's digital journey is to handhold our potential customers throughout the entire stage of the selection process, right? So one of the three steps that we've taken, the first one is really giving them a virtual assistance experience. We call it as a virtual tour of our experience center. What it really is the chance for them to interact with a Kohler sales executive live on like a Teams chat, the way you and I are doing right now. And we have managed to shoot our entire experience center, both Bombay and Delhi, and digitally transformed it. It's a software that we use for giving virtual tours, and every product has links attached to it. So if you are interested in our brand, you're making a new home, you can sign up for a Kohler virtual tour. We will have a live agent at the other end who will take you through the entire experience center virtually and give you all the information that you need about the products. It will be at your fingertips. And because we are in a business of making new homes, there is a lot of consultation that we provide as well, because it's a lot about problem solving for the customers also. You don't really know much about plumbing, so you have a lot of questions. So even have interior design services, and we have plumbing assistance services to help customers virtually experience our brand, our products, and make key decisions depending on which stage they are at of their home buying process. So that's the first bit. The second bit is with respect to inspiration. When you're making a new home, you may or may not have an architect. Even if you have an architect, you will want your home to reflect your personality, your design choice. It's an expression of who you are, really, right? Because, like I mentioned earlier, it's a once in a lifetime process for most of us, and extremely high involvement. And somewhere customers are looking for what is the latest, what is the best, where can I get inspiration on design from? And that's where Kohler is very well positioned because of the sheer volume of inspirational content that we produce. So if you go to our Instagram handle or our YouTube section, there is just so many ideas that you can get for your dream bathroom. And we believe that anyone who's looking for inspiration is bound to land up on our website or social handles to know what's the latest in India in the bathroom space. So that's the second piece that we focused on. And the third is the digital handholding the customer throughout the selection process. So whether your site is going to get made in the next 6 months, and you just want to understand how to choose the concealed products that go behind the wall, or you're already a customer, you're facing some problems, you want some DIY fixes. How the most of it is basically focused on how do you solve common plumbing problems that you have, and when you're making a new home, how do you make key decisions without really getting into that go to a store and talk to someone or ask your plumber. So simple knowledge based tips and algorithms that kind of help you select and help you choose. So we want to provide virtual experiences, experience center, showcase our products. We want to make sure that you have the right inspiration for your dream bathroom, and we want to help you in a very simple way to solve most of the common problems or questions that you have. So those are the three things that we do.
And are there like cases of people actually buying stuff only by going through a virtual tour without actually ever seeing it? Does that happen?
Absolutely, that has
Wow.
happened a lot. So I'll explain why. Because Kohler's retail footprint is limited to actually top 50 cities of the country,
Right.
and you must have heard this from people in different industries. There's a lot of action happening in tier 3 cities and in rural India, right? So we get so many customers. 65 to 70% of the people who take the virtual tour are those people who don't have access to a Kohler store in their city.
Wow.
And they have a very clear idea of after they take the tour of what they want. The virtual tour ends with a very specific and personalized quotation from our team, and they get in touch with the dealer that's in the nearest town. They get in touch with their contractor, their architect, and if they get a go ahead on those fronts, there is absolutely no hesitation in purchasing the products from the nearest dealer or from e-commerce even. So for such people, it's giving them access to a brand which they never had earlier. So we're
Wow.
really
That
happy with it. Yeah.
I guess, I mean, that, do you think it would have been that easy if the pandemic had not happened? Don't you think it's like an acceleration
No.
towards this process?
It is an acceleration. See, because if I am living in, say, Behrampur in Orissa, and if the pandemic wasn't there, I would have gone to the nearest Hindware or Sarah store and just bought
Right.
whatever I could see. I didn't have much choice, right? But now that I'm getting an advertisement saying take a virtual tour, it's costing me nothing. It's only 45 minutes to 1 hour of my time, and I'm getting to experience the brand, talk to the brand directly. Why not? We're able to convince people.
Wow. Okay. So, Urvi, coming back to your core domain of marketing, what does a day in the life of a marketer look like? So what does the day in the life of Urvi with look like, who's currently heading marketing and brand communications for Kohler? Just so that we can visualize what people do. Are you working like 18 hours a day? Are you working, how do you manage, and how have things changed pre and post pandemic, if you could also throw light on that?
Okay, so I'll start with my typical day. But I should just, for the benefit of our audience, pre-pandemic, I was actually on maternity leave, and now I'm the mother. I'm a mother to a 13-month-old. So my day is unique in that sense too. So my day typically begins at 5 a.m. That's just been my habit for a few years now. I go to bed at 9 and I get up at 5 a.m. And my daughter also wakes up early, so she gets up at about 5:30 to 6. So up till 8:30 a.m. is pure time with my daughter, which uninterrupted, absolutely. So I really begin to start working at around 9 a.m. and 9 to 10 is what I call as my personal focus productivity time, where I don't have any meetings and I get to think clearly about my agenda for the day and make a list of absolute must-dos that I have to accomplish today, and a couple of optionals, which is okay if I get done today or I can postpone for later. I also have a chance to organize my calendar, get a head start on what's coming. From 10 o'clock onwards, the first meeting that I typically have is with my team members. So there are three of us, and we would get together on the list that I would have made earlier at 9 in the morning, and what are the other agendas for the day, as well as plan a little bit for the week ahead if it's a Monday. And from 11:30 to about 2:30 or 3, I would have usually vendor meetings. Basically, I would have meetings with our agency partners, whether it's our digital agency or our creative agencies, to discuss on the progress that we have on various ongoing projects. It could be brainstorming for a new campaign. It could be approvals of creatives. It could be, variety of things. It could even be pending purchase orders and invoices, whatever is required to get things moving and on track. And, after a brief kind of lunch interlude, which happens at times, many times doesn't, from 3 o'clock to 5:36 would be meetings with our internal customers, basically the product marketing teams and the sales teams, who we provide as the marketing communications and brand team services too. So if they require development of a new catalog, if they require special focus on a special campaign on a particular range of products, we may discuss go-to-market plans for a new launch that's upcoming. So internal requirement gathering, take briefs and scopes from them and plan out the work for that. And from 6 to 7 is usually time that I have blocked with my boss on various updates and discussions that we have for the week. And we also use that time to really plan for the coming quarters as well, more long-term, less operational things. So that's the time that I have blocked for more strategic thinking. And 7 to 8 could just be responding to emails that I've missed. I try not to work past 8. So it's usually a 10 and a half hour kind of a day.
Wow, that's quite a lot. Even I mean, especially the fact that you also now have to give time to a new human being that you created some time back.
Yeah, that's why the morning hours are really important for me.
Correct. So, Urvi, how has life changed post-pandemic? Earlier, I'm sure you used to go to office. I mean, before the maternity leave that you took. And
Right.
do you feel that we are ever going to be fully back to office, or do you think everybody is going to work fully remotely, or do you think there's going to be some kind of a hybrid model? How do you see the future of work, especially in marketing?
So I've actually been going to office for a few months on alternate days. So Kohler's been following a roster system, and you can call it a hybrid model because we're in office alternate days and
Right.
not those long hours that we used to be earlier. So it's a combination of, if I have a bunch of meetings, then I take it from home. If I can meet people in the office, then I will go there and meet them. And so far, I think that's the model that I'm in favor of, because somewhere if you don't see your colleagues face to face, it becomes a little bit harder to align everything digitally. Like, I just feel like speaking, there is no substitute for a good face to face meeting. It really builds that trust and understanding, which could go away otherwise. So I'm a big fan of the hybrid model. Complete work from home is okay for roles that are more individual contributor. If you have a lot of meetings with other departments, other functions, if you are managing projects which are team based, I think it's okay for a little while, but it's good to meet face to face once in a while as well. So I'm a big fan of the hybrid model for sure. And life for me, like, I think pandemic has been a boon for me as a new mom going back to work. I would have never got the kind of flexibility of work from home that I got in this year. It was just the kind of thing that companies would consider and reject, right? Like, let's allow a mom to work from home for 2 months and then work alternate days for the next 3 months, right? Like, that would never happen. It would be rejected. But pandemic has forced us to evaluate these options, and I hope, for the sake of working moms everywhere, some learnings from this flexible model remain, and we can offer this flexibility to women who are returning back to work. So I think it was a great boon for me.
Sure. Sure. I think I kind of agree with you on most cases here. Okay, so I'm going to now try and mix this with audience questions. We've got a few of them already coming in. A lot of them are career oriented. A lot of people in our community who want to figure out how they can become marketers. So um, Raghu Raman P has asked the question: what advice would you give to an engineering student who's currently working at Cognizant and wants to do an MBA in marketing? Um, so, I mean, of course, you were also an engineer who probably got an offer from Accenture. Um, so, yeah, I think, do you think there is any framework which somebody can use to decide whether an engineer should get into a B school or no? Or what should uh, be the decision? What should be the parameter that should drive your decision towards getting into B school if you are an engineer and probably are also working in an IT company
I think you can have a great career in any field. You could have a great career in IT, or you could have like a very mediocre career after doing an MBA. What's really important is that you play to your strengths. So it's more about looking inwards. Figuring out what is it that you are really good at. What is it that you enjoy doing, even in your free time. If one is having that self awareness, then the path becomes clearer and clearer. So I would say, if you are in Cognizant and you are having a good time, your career is progressing well, I would say it's definitely not a compulsory thing to do an MBA, right? Because it does involve letting go of the experience that you gather at Cognizant and making a fresh start completely in a field that you don't know much about. So start there. Like, how are you enjoying your time at Cognizant? Are you happy with the kind of work you're doing? Do you see a future for yourself in this field? If not, think about, like, what were your favorite subjects in school, in engineering college? What are the kind of activities that you enjoy doing at college and in your free time? And if you find that you have some affinity towards the world of brands, you have affinity towards different kinds of products, you like watching ads. Did you do some kind of extracurriculars in college? Were you in charge of marketing for any of the events? So look back on your non-academic careers and interest, and if you find that you are leaning more towards that field, then go for it. Like, there are so many MBA colleges now. The number of seats has gone up so much. You will surely find the right fit for you. And from there, like, business schools do a great job of putting us where we fit best and where we belong. So you can take it from there, but really look inwards. I think there's no one answer for everyone.
That's fantastic, Urvi. So, Raghu, I hope this answers your question. I think it was quite elaborate and very well put. The next question is from Anandi Sen. She asks, would you say that brand and marketing communications is more of a creative and content driven profile? Or do you think it's strategic and quant driven? Or is it a good mix of both? So, I guess it's a question which says that, is it using only the right brain, or does it also have a lot of left brain involvement? How would you look at your current profile, Urvi?
I think that's an excellent question, and one that marketers have struggled to answer forever. I will give you my take on it. I think it's not about how creative you personally are, though it definitely is a big added bonus and it helps a lot. And I'll explain why I think that. Because there are excellent creative people out there who you can hire to make the best kind of creatives that you want for your brand. So you can actually get someone to do that for you very easily. And every company has excellent ad agencies that they work with, to make that. But what you have to do yourself, which no one else can do for you, is decide what strategic direction the brand has to take. What are your priorities? What are your goals? And how are you going to get there? So that is far more important than thinking creatively as a brand and a communications person. Because if you know what you want to say and why you want to say it, you will find someone easily who will say it in the best possible way for you. But if you don't know what to say and why do you want to say it, then even the best creative agencies and the best creative minds will struggle, or they will come up with the wrong answer. So definitely for me, it's more strategic, more quantitative. There is a tremendous need to analyze data constantly. There are market researches that I do, quantitative heavy researches. There is so much data in the digital marketing world, which I have to constantly scrutinize and derive insights from. So that is a non-negotiable. If you're not the most creative person, and I don't think I personally am, it's okay, because you can get those services. Those are not core services. You can hire for that as for creative services, but you can't hire to make brand strategy for your organization. That you have to do yourself. But I should add that it's always a great bonus if you also happen to be a creative person. Then you're a genius, right? And you're Steve Jobs. Sorry, I think you're on mute, Ankit.
Sorry, made a mistake. Yeah, I was just saying that that was obviously, if you can be both creative and as and analytical and do both of those things very, very well, you're right, you'd be a genius. um, so the next question is from Maithili Vishwakarma, and her question is, how can freshers get jobs in e-commerce? So may not necessarily pertain to what you are doing currently, Urvi, but do you have any tips for someone like Maithili? You're also a
I think,
fresher.
yeah, I mean, there's so much happening in the world of e-commerce that it's such a broad industry. There are people making products that sell only on e-commerce. So you could join one of the many startups. There are digital companies like D2C companies. So many examples, very successful, like Mamaearth and Bombay Shaving Companies. You could work for one of those. I'm sure they have opportunities for freshers as a business analyst or many such roles. You could work on the social side of things. I know that a community manager is a very common fresher profile, right? Like, so you're handling customers who are talking to you online. That could be one. You could work with a digital agency. They are also very kind to freshers. Generally, they have many openings in that as well. You could work for you could work for Google. I know that Google offers very many, though that's not strictly e-commerce, but Google is so integrated into everything that's digital that if you get a chance to work there as an account optimizer or a campaign manager, that would be a terrific fit and a start to an e-commerce journey. Or you could possibly work for Amazon and Flipkart. Not sure if they hire freshers. I'm sure they must be in some of the roles for sure. But so many opportunities. I would say don't think about joining, also entering the e-commerce industry. Think about entering the digital ecosystem as a whole. Any foot in the door that you can get, whether it's with a with a products manufacturing company, or if it's with an advertiser like Google or Facebook, or if it's with an agency who's kind of in between all of these. So that'll give you a good start.
Okay, here, Maithili, I mean, it's a great answer by Urvi, and I'm just going to talk about this concept of, getting a share of the digital ecosystem. And, there's one opportunity you guys have. You can join our e-commerce marketing program, which is actually going to help you, go through a series of exercises and learn from somebody who's built a e-commerce brand from scratch. Uh, and that could be a good starting point to start a career in e-commerce as well. Like today, you could potentially start an e-commerce company from your house. All you need is some experience of digital marketing or some insight into that. Maybe know how to set up shops on platforms like Shopify or Meesho, and you could be the next
Right.
big entrepreneur as well. Okay. The next question I have is from Ashish Rajput. Very interesting question. He says that to a person who's not from an IIM, which book do you suggest that I can refer to, which might help me in my business in a practical way? So, do you have any book recommendations for Ashish, Urvi?
That's a little bit hard to answer because it depends on what work you're doing at the moment. Do we have any information on that?
No, let's for the keeping it true to the topic. Let's focus on marketing. So if I am an entrepreneur, who's probably has to create demand for his or her products, are there any interesting books that I can look at, which and learn from, and also do it practically?
Sure. So actually, there are so many books written in the world of marketing, but a few stand out for me. I think the one book that's influenced me a lot, especially in my early years, is Start with Why by Simon Sinek. Though I wouldn't call it exactly a marketing book, but it's at the heart of what the best brands and best companies do, really. That would be a great reading starting point. I think some great books on brand architecture written by David Acker. It's something that I got introduced to back in business school in the second year, and I've continued reading that, especially in the last few years, because I find that the more you go back to the fundamentals, the easier it becomes to make good decisions. David Acker, Simon Sinek, and in fact, one of our professors, if you remember, Ankit, Rajesh Srivastava, has written a great book on marketing, um, and that could be excellent reading for someone who's starting out as well. So I would highly recommend all three of these books. And of course,
Okay,
the never really go away, right? So you always benefit from reading about the four P's of marketing, right?
right.
Textbooks that you have in business school, those are classic legendary books for a reason, because you can learn very well from them.
Okay, so Simon Sinek, David Acker, and the book that Urvi is talking about is New Rules of Business by Rajesh Srivastav. We actually did a program with Rajesh sir recently on brand and experience marketing. So, uh, okay. So the next question is from Dipesh Vaswani. What should be the preliminary aim for an aspirant who is aspiring to do an MBA in marketing? Should you should he think about securing a job, or should you completely immerse in the process? I want to know your views. So I'm not very sure, Dipesh, what you are hinting at. But so let me decode this question again. Should a aspirant who wants to get into wants to do an MBA in marketing, should he think about the job, or should he immerse himself in the process? When I say process, I mean, I guess, the learning in B school, right? So Urvi, how would you look at that? So basically the question is, should I focus on placements and try and figure out which company I can get into, or should I focus on the learning, take up the right topics and subjects when I am in B school or even before that?
I don't see this as a choice, really. I think you have to do both in order to be successful.
Right,
You cannot ignore your studies, because grades matter. The learning that you get there matters.
right.
The reputation that you earn in business school is something that could propel you forward in your career as well. So it's really important to focus on your studies, do a great job on all your group assignments, listen in class, learn from the very many experienced faculty also who come and take classes. Very important to do that, cannot be ignored. I think there is enough time available during this business school period to focus on placements. Like the fifth and sixth semester is the time. Fifth semester basically is the time when you should really start thinking about placements. Anything before that would not be very useful or productive, because things change so quickly also year on year. So I would say up till the fifth semester, definitely put all your effort into classes. By then, you will have a fairly good idea of where you stand academically, where your interests lie, and put in the last 2 or 3 months towards researching the kind of organizations that visit your campus. Where could you possibly be a good fit? And once you've shortlisted in your mind a few companies, and this shortlist should be very small, it should not be more than 3 or 4 companies. Do your very best to learn everything you can about them. Talk to your seniors who are working there, and if you devote that last 2 months, there's no reason why you can't succeed. So do both. Divide it. 1.5 years focus completely on your studies and your courses. And last 6 months, any case, the load reduces significantly and to focus on placements.
Okay, so the next question that I have is on by Akash Agarwal. Akash is asking if you are completing your MBA right now, would you be focused on a sales-based FMCG role, or would you want to get a e-commerce or a digital ecosystem-based growth role from campus? What would be your focus today if you are graduating in 2021 instead of 2011?
Okay, so that's a tough one for me. I actually think about this a lot, that if I were graduating now, what would I have, or if I had the options that kids nowadays have, would I have chosen the same route? I don't know if my answer will seem controversial here. I'll say you should definitely spend a few years in the real world doing sales, because even if the method of selling changes, which is from a shop versus selling online, uh, the people are the same, right? Like, and you get to meet people and understand people on a scale like never before in a sales stint. You get to meet real consumers, right? You get to meet your trade partners. All of these things are not going anywhere. You will still need distributors. You will still need consumer insights, and the only way to do that is to really be out there and learn. But having said that, the digital ecosystem is the way forward. E-commerce is the way forward. The kind of growth that these companies are seeing, you are unlikely to see in a traditional, traditional large organization. But even those organizations are moving. Their sales are shifting to e-commerce as well, and the pandemic has precipitated an unprecedented increase in the proportion of sales that FMCG companies get from e-commerce channel. So you don't have to choose. You could spend a few years in doing sales in an FMCG company and get an opportunity to move to e-commerce sales within that organization. That's very possible and very likely also. So it's not a choice. E-commerce is a channel. FMCG is a career, and sales is a skill. So you can do all three, really.
Okay.
Focus on developing your own skills, right? But if you have, so there's another alternate answer to this. Very not keen on, you feel like you'll not be good at sales and you don't want to do this altogether, then skip it and join a startup. I would recommend that then.
Got it. This entire conversation reminds me of the fact that obviously the skills that are required have also shifted and changed quite a lot. I understand that while the process of selling, the place has changed, but the principles remain the same. But do you think that for an e-commerce marketer, the skills required are different? Like what would you advise somebody who's starting out now? What skills should that person start building on now to get an edge, maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when they reach where you are? What do you think are the trends, and hence what is the upskilling, what are the new things that a marketer should learn right from day one when they are starting their career today?
Okay, so this is for a career, for someone who's starting a career in sales and marketing today, right?
Yeah. So what are the skills that they should learn? Because obviously e-commerce marketing is not going to go away for any category now. There is always going to be some form of
No,
digital selling. Does that mean that I
sorry to
need
stay.
to learn? Do I need to learn skills which are different? Maybe they are not taught in these schools. Maybe they are not. Even companies might not have realized that they need to skill their, employees in those skills. So, as somebody who's in the industry right now, what would your advice be to a? Okay, let me put it this way: what would be your advice in terms of what to focus on to a 10-year, you know, an Urvi of 10 years back? Now that you have gone through the whole thing, what skills would you ask her to learn?
So I think in an e-commerce world, one of the most underrated skills and most in short supply is really with respect to generating, a quality content to help your shoppers. That's something that I'm grappling with on a day-to-day basis. How can you make um, selling to customers online seamless, absolutely, beautiful, make them feel like it's the best, most easiest decision that they have made to click that buy button. So really just guiding customers through the funnel. What content do you need to convince your customer online? Like when you go to a store, you have the physical product in front of you and you have good amount of POSM, but there are limitations there, and the digital world has absolutely no limitations. You can have any number of videos, you can have any number of AR, VR, you could have images, you'll have so many opportunities to tell your story. But what should you really focus on from a content point of view, for your brand, for your category, and what will move the needle significantly? So there are so few companies in India that get content right. Definitely none of the very few FMCG companies get it right. So, and that's a field that's growing faster and faster, because end of the day it's all about acquiring customers, right? And through traditional paid ads, like that method has gone on for so many years and it will probably continue also, but it's so expensive to do that. But if you are able to generate content at scale which is useful for your customers, it can bring down the cost of traffic acquisition significantly. And that's what I see as going forward. It'll become one of the most important skills. So how can you really generate the content to target your shoppers so that you can acquire them at a much lower cost? So focus on that, would be my advice. And beyond that, just another skill that I think is really important is generating customer insights, is knowing what makes your customer happy, what are their pain points, how can you solve them, and maybe doing it at scale in a data driven way, versus the traditional way of doing, like going to homes and doing FGDs. So what are the tools that, what are the market research tools or insight gathering tools that can be applied digitally at a lower cost? So those are the fields I think that will really pick up in the next 10 years or so.
Got it. You said something very interesting about how you feel that not a lot of people actually get content right. So, which are the
Yeah.
examples of brands or campaigns or companies where you feel that they've got the content bang on, which inspires you or which you found to be noteworthy?
Sure, sure. So I think one of the brands that I admire most is actually Asian Paints, and they have this wonderful website called Beautiful Homes, which has a really great presence. It's almost like a publisher, it's like a magazine. People don't know that it's associated with Asian Paints. It has a lot of traffic from the A&D community, so that's a brand that I admire a lot. Few other brands which have done very well in this space, really. I think Sabyasachi as a brand has done terrific. Though I know it's very different from what you normally discuss. But if you look at his content, look at his presence, the PR that he generates digitally, it's worth billions, and he doesn't have to pay much for it because of his very clever use of celebrity, very clever use of photography and social. So I think he's built a business out of nothing by leveraging content really well and making his advertisement, like he doesn't advertise, right? It's close to zero, like his advertising spends, but he still has so many eyeballs. Beautiful Homes, Asian Paints, couple of other brands in durables. I think OnePlus has done a pretty good job in the mobile space. Like they have a lot of great content which attracts their target audience. So all of these companies have actually brought down their cost of marketing through terrific content.
Yeah, Sabyasachi's
Are you
just
able to hear
gotten
me?
a. Yeah. There was a slight disturbance earlier, but now we can hear you. We're just saying that Sabyasachi obviously got 800 crore valuation just a few days back as a brand. So it's quite fantastic. Like Aditya Birla Group is invested in that.
He's a very clever marketer. Yeah,
Right,
he's a very clever marketer.
right. Um, the There's one more question. I don't know if you would be able to help him, but from your experience, Urvi, we have a viewer who's asking, His name is Vijay. What do you think are the top skills to do well in B2B marketing? And I don't know if you do also, if you've done any kind of B2B marketing or you do anything with Kohler. So is any tips for Vijay?
Sure. So Kohler has a very significant B2B business. While I'm not directly involved, but I have observed from the sidelines on what it takes to build a great, B2B. So B2B is about relationship. Okay, at the end of the day, it's about having a few customers and catering to them really, really well, knowing them inside, outside, solving all their problems, pandering to all their needs, and doing that round the year. So there's no marketing calendar for B2B, like it's 365 days. I think what has worked really well for Kohler is understanding the needs of our customer in a in a very 360-degree way. So if we are talking to, say, prestige builders in Bangalore who are like one of our clients, we will service them at a level which is far higher than we would for a smaller customer. Any problem that they have access at the highest levels. And one of the things that works really well in B2B marketing is actually having multiple layers of relationships. So you have to have tagging of your customer at every level, starting from the junior most to the senior most. And communication has to flow across these levels throughout the year. So that's something that I think we've done really well in B2B space, and we have an excellent relationship with our design community fraternity as well, architects and interior designers. And it's the same thing for them, right? Like you have to make sure that the smallest of problem is resolved as quickly as possible. We take great pride in partnering their creative process. Like we showcase their creative work through many of our platforms. One of them is Pecha Kucha. Check them out on YouTube if you get an opportunity. So Kohler is more than a business partner for them. They're really a thought partner and a creative partner for many of our architect customers. So yeah, it's about knowing your B2B customer really well, and it's about servicing them at the highest level possible. That's the few insights that I can give on this.
Okay. Guys, we have really run out of time today. We are way past 7:30 now. And I just want to thank Urvi for her time. This was really, really
Thanks a
insightful.
lot.
Guys, this is a recorded session as well, so you will get access to this even later on. Urvi, I think a lot of what you said was very insightful. I was really thrilled to know the kind of work you've done at Kohler during the pandemic, giving people in cities where there is no physical access of Kohler to people, and there are people who are buying. It's quite inspiring, actually. We also try to sell a lot of things online. In fact, we only do that online, and it sounds really, really interesting what you're doing. Also, I think the entire experience that you shared with respect to what you did with Twinkle Khanna, your brand ambassador, and the setup of the experience store in Delhi and in various other metro cities. I think your insights on how e-commerce is changing, the fact that content driven marketing, what will reduce the cost of acquisition of a customer, I think is something that we can all take back a lot from. And yeah, so guys, thank you very much for joining us today. And we hope that you answered your questions well. And of course, feel free to keep writing into us at any point of time. If you want to, get into more details, please sign up for our e-commerce marketing program that's going to take place starting Saturday. You can also, get in touch with our mentors and sign up for a one-on-one career coaching program. We actually have launched something where we also offer a job guarantee in one of the programs. So do check that particular bit up as well. And of course, keep watching the channel. Tomorrow we are going to be with Nishigandha Kure, who's working at Nykaa, and she's going to talk about e-commerce marketing as well. And she's going to actually do a case study. And so I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. And Urvi, any last words for everybody?
Wish all the viewers of this show the very best of success in their professional lives.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.